Welcome to the students of first PUC. This is session 1 of chapter 6, work, energy and power. This is the beginning of the new chapter, and the words work, energy and power, they are very much familiar to all of you. The word energy or the definition for energy, many of you have already learnt about it in your high school, which tells that energy is the capacity to do work. In the definition for energy, which tells that energy is the capacity to do work, which means if there is some form of energy, so it results in doing some work. And what about the word work? When it comes to utilizing the term work or the word work in our daily life, there are many examples for which we consider that work is being done or work is being going on. There are some examples given in your NCERT. Let us look into those examples. Here are the examples: a farmer plowing the field, a construction worker carrying bricks, a student studying for a competitive exam, an artist painting a beautiful landscape, etc. Many more. All these are considered as work in our daily life while we are casually conversing with our friends or with people around us. We consider all these as work. But in physics, what do you consider work? Or when is work is said to be done? In physics, work is said to be done only when there is displacement of an object by using a force. In physics, mathematically, work is given by the product of force into displacement. And not simply F into D, more rightly speaking, it is the vector force into dot product of the displacement D. This is a more proper way of representing the mathematics related to work done. What is the dot product? And to do some numericals related to work done, we will have to first learn about vector multiplication. Given two vectors, they can be multiplied in different ways. So let us now look into the vector multiplication. Today in this session, we will be discussing about the different types of vector multiplication. Among them, the scalar multiplication or the dot product of two vectors, and then we will see what do we mean by work, what is energy, what is kinetic energy, and finally the work energy theorem. Let me begin with the different types of multiplication of vectors. Types of vector multiplication. Given two vectors A and B, they can be multiplied in two different ways. One being the dot product and the another being the cross product. In dot product, if you multiply two vectors, the final result is going to be a scalar. So the dot product can also be called as a scalar product. What about cross product? If you multiply two vectors using cross product, we will be getting another vector or a third new vector. So this cross product is also called as the vector product. Here it is, the dot product is called as scalar product, whereas cross product, the other name being vector product. In dot product, if you have two vectors A and B, then the dot product is represented by vector A dot vector B. We read it as A dot B. In cross product, if we have two vectors A and B, then it is represented by A cross B. We read it as A cross B. For the chapter of work, energy and power, the cross product is of no use. So we will not be discussing about the cross product, whereas we are in need of dot product. Therefore, we will be discussing more about dot product. So now we will be learning mathematics related to dot product of two vectors. To understand what is a dot product or a scalar product, mathematics related to them, let us look into the diagram here. I have two vectors A and B, and the angle between them is theta. They both are acting at a point O simultaneously, that is, they are acting at the same time. Then the dot product is defined as A dot B is equal to A into B cos theta. A is the magnitude of the vector A and B cos theta. If I consider B cos theta, this is now called as the component of B along A. Finally, the product is a scalar. So this gives a scalar quantity. Not just this, I can also write A dot B in another way, that is A dot B can be written as B into A cos theta. And this is a scalar. So, this tells A dot B is equal to the magnitude of vector B into the component of A along B. So, you can write it either as A into B cos theta or B into A cos theta. And what do you mean by component of a vector on another vector? So, to understand, let me further draw two diagrams with this. Look into the diagrams here. In the first diagram, I have two vectors A and B. What I have done, from the first diagram, I have extended a perpendicular from the head of B onto A. Now, this OM represents B cos theta or the component of vector B along A. The other way, I have extended a perpendicular from the head of A onto B. The line ON now represents the component of vector A along B. So, whenever you are supposed to take the dot product, we will be considering the magnitude of two vectors acting along the same direction. If they are not acting along the same direction, then what you will do is take the component of one vector along the other vector. Finally, we will be getting the scalar product or the dot product of two vectors. From these two equations, I can now define dot product as dot product of two vectors is the product of the magnitude of one vector and the component of the other vector along the first vector. This defines the dot product of two vectors. These two equations further leads to the properties related to dot product of vectors. So, let us see what are those properties. Of the properties of vector dot product, the first one is the commutative law, that is A dot B is equal to B dot A, which means the order of the vector taken while multiplication does not matter. You can either take A as the first vector or B as the first vector. Both will give us the same result, which is AB cos theta or BA cos theta. Both are going to be the same. You can understand this commutative law better when we are going to learn about commutative law with respect to cross product. There we will see that A cross B is not equal to B cross A. So, commutative law is the property obeyed by dot product and not the cross product. Vector dot product obeys commutative law. What is the second property? Let us look into the second property. The second property obeyed by vector dot product is distributive law. What does that say? It tells if you have three vectors A, B and C, then A dot B plus C is equal to A dot B plus A dot C. This is distributive law. So, I can write vector dot product obeys distributive law. The third one being A dot of lambda into B is going to be equal to lambda into A dot B. Here lambda is a real number. So, these are the three properties related to the vector dot product. After having gone through the properties of the dot product, we will now see what is the result of dot product of unit vectors along the coordinate axis x, y and z. In chapter 2, where you have learnt about vectors, we have learnt the representation of vectors in terms of the perpendicular components along the x, y and z axis, where if you have a vector A, you can write it as a vector can be represented analytically as Ax into I cap plus Ay into j cap plus Az into k cap. Now, we will see about the dot product between the unit vectors along the x, y and z axis. We will first see what is I into I. I has a magnitude of 1. I into I, which is multiplying the same vector using dot product. So, I into I is going to be equal to the magnitude of I into again the magnitude of I into cos of the angle between them. Here it is 0 degree. So, this is going to be equal to magnitude of I is nothing but 1, again into 1 and cos 0 is again 1. Therefore, this will give us nothing but 1. Dot product of unit vector with itself is going to give us 1. Similarly, we can see that j dot j is also equal to 1 and k dot k is going to be equal to 1. We will now see what is the dot product going to be between the vector I and vector j. So, I into j is going to be equal to the magnitude of I into the magnitude of j into the cos of angle between them. The angle between I and j is 90 degree. Therefore, this is going to be cos 90 degree. Cos 90 is 0. Therefore, I dot j is going to be 0. Similarly, we will see that j dot k is also equal to 0 and k dot I is also going to be 0. So, the dot product of a unit vector with itself gives 1, whereas dot product of a unit vector with the another vector along x or z axis is going to give us 0. This is the result related to the dot product with unit vectors. From this, we can again find what is the dot product of two vectors in analytical form. Let us see. After having learnt the dot product in terms of the magnitude of a vector and component of the another vector, we will now learn the same dot product analytical method. So, what do you mean by in analytical method? The vectors A and B are written in terms of the unit vectors along the x, y and z coordinates. In this case, how do you find the dot product of two vectors? So, let us begin. A dot B. So, I can take this as Ax I cap plus Ay j cap plus Az k cap dot product of Bx I cap plus By j cap plus Bz into k cap. Further, now this is going to give us Ax I cap into Bx I cap. So, Ax into Bx I cap dot I cap. Here I cap are the vectors, whereas Ax and Bx are just the magnitudes. So, I cap dot I cap plus the same Ax with By. This will give us Ax By into I cap dot j cap. The same Ax with Bz k cap will give us Ax Bz into k cap. I will continue plus Ay j cap into Bx I cap. Ay into Bx j cap dot I cap plus Ay j cap into By j cap. Ay into By j cap dot j cap plus Ay j cap into Bz k cap. So, Ay into Bz j cap dot k cap plus now we are left with Az k cap into the components of the B vector. Similarly, now I can write this as Az Bx k cap dot I cap plus Az into By k cap dot j cap plus Az into Bz k cap dot k cap. From the previous result of the vector dot product with unit vectors, we know that I cap dot I cap gives 1, whereas I cap dot j cap, this is going to be 0. Similarly, here we have I cap dot k cap. So, I cap dot k cap is going to give us 0. Next, j dot I is also 0. J dot j will again give us 1, whereas j dot k is 0. Similarly, k dot I is 0, k dot j is 0 and k dot k is again 1. So, we are left with Ax Bx. So, I dot I will give us 1, Ay By and j dot j will give us 1, and finally Bz Az and k dot k will give us again 1. So, I will get the result here as A dot B is going to be equal to Ax Bx plus Ay By plus Az Bz. So, this is the result of the dot product of two vectors in analytical form. Now, using the same analytical method, we will see what is the dot product of A dot A and B dot B going to be. Dot product with the same vector is going to give us Ax into Ax plus Ay into Ay plus Az into Az. So this is going to be Ax square plus Ay square plus Az square. From your chapter motion in a plane, we have learnt that if we have a vector A, then magnitude of the vector is given by root of Ax square plus Ay square plus Az square, and magnitude of vector A can simply be written as A. So A is equal to root of Ax square plus Ay square plus Az square, and if you take out the root from your right hand side, we will get A square is equal to Ax square plus Ay square plus Az square. So now I can write A dot A will give us A square, which is square of the magnitude of the vector, and this is equal to Ax square plus Ay square plus Az square. Similarly, B dot B will give us Bx square plus By square plus Bz square, which implies B square is going to be equal to Bx square plus By square plus Bz square. A dot A gives us the square of its magnitude, and similarly B dot B gives us the square of its magnitude. After having gone through the mathematics of the dot product, we will now solve a numerical from your NCERT textbook, which will help us to understand the dot product more better. Here is the numerical from your NCERT textbook. Find the angle between force F is equal to 3I plus 4j minus 5k unit and displacement D is equal to 5I plus 4j plus 3k unit. Also, find the projection of F on D. Two vectors are being given in terms of their rectangular components. Now we are supposed to find the angle between these two vectors and the projection of F onto D. So let us begin. We know that the dot product, which is F dot D, is given by F D cos theta, where F is magnitude of the force F and D is the magnitude of the vector displacement. To find the magnitude of F and D, we will find F dot F, so which is going to give us the square of its magnitude, and in analytical form this is equal to Fx into Fx plus Fy into Fy plus Fz into Fz. Dot product of the vector with itself gives us the square of the magnitude, and now this is equal to Fx is nothing but 3 into 3 plus 4 into 4 plus minus 5 into minus 5. Let me continue this. F square is going to be equal to 3 into 3 is 9 plus 4 into 4 16 plus minus 5 into minus 5 is 25. So this will give us 9 plus 16 is 25, 25 plus 25 is 50. We are supposed to find F, the magnitude of F. So this is going to be equal to root of 50. If F square is equal to 50, then F is equal to root 50 units. So we found out what is F. Now similarly, let us find out what is D, the magnitude of the vector D. Similarly, D square is going to be equal to 5 into 5 plus 4 into 4 plus 3 into 3. This will give us 50. Therefore, D is going to be equal to root of 50 units. We have found out what is the magnitude of the vector F and of vector D. So from this equation, F dot D is going to be equal to root 50 magnitude of F into root 50 the magnitude of D into cos theta further. So this implies F dot D is equal to root 50 into root 50 is 50 into cos theta unit. Let me take this as equation 1. We have found what is the dot product of F dot D in terms of the magnitude and the component of the other vector. We will do the same in the analytical way. Also, using the rectangular components, I know that f dot d is going to be equal to fx into dx, which is 3 into 5 plus fy into dy, which is 4 into 4 plus fz into dz. So, this is going to give us minus 5 into plus 3 units. 3 into 5 is 15, 4 into 4 is 16, minus 5 into 3 will give us minus 15 unit, minus 15 and plus 15 get cancelled. So, f dot d is going to be equal to 16 unit. This is equation 2. Now, equate equation 1 and equation 2. Equating 1 and 2, we can write 50 cos theta is equal to 16, which does imply cos theta is 16 divided by 50. So, we will get this as 0.32. We will be in need of this result later. Further, theta is going to be cos inverse of 0.32. We have found what is theta. It is cos inverse of 0.32. You can find the result using your mathematical table. Further, to find the component of the force F along D, so it is given by F cos theta, and F cos theta is going to be equal to the magnitude of F is root 50 into cos of cos theta is 0.32. So, this will finally give us 2.26 unit. We have found finally the component of the vector force along the vector D. This finishes the numerical. After having learnt the mathematics related to the dot product of two vectors, we will now proceed with the physical and mathematical definition of work. In physics, work is said to be done only when there is displacement of an object from an external force. If at all there is no displacement, then work is not being done. And mathematically, work is the dot product of force and displacement. If not D, displacement can also be written as either S, or if it is along x axis as x. Let me now consider the displacement vector as D, and the scalar product of two vectors is going to be a scalar, and here it is f cos theta into D. From this formula, now I define work as work is product of the magnitude of displacement and the component of force along displacement. If we are to calculate the displacement by any external force, then it is the product of the magnitude of the displacement and the component of force along displacement. Here we are not going to take the component of displacement along the force, but more rightly it is the component of force along the displacement. This is the mathematics of work done. Further, from this formula we can have some more properties related to the work done. If at all a force is been acting on an object, even in that case the work can be 0. What are the conditions? So, work done by a force is 0 when the first thing being the displacement of the object is 0. You may be thinking, what is this? If at all I am trying to push a wall, I am applying force on the wall, but there is no displacement of the wall. In that case, the work done is 0. I am wasting my energy, but still there is no work being done. The second thing, the work done by a force can be 0 when the angle between the force applied and the displacement is 90 degree. To know what is this case, we have learnt earlier in chapter 4. You place any object on the table, there is always gravitational force acting on it. Though there is gravitational force acting on it always, but still when an object is placed on a table or on a horizontal surface, the work done by gravitational force on it is going to be 0. Similar examples are been given in your NCERT. Let us see what are those examples. Here is the example. A weightlifter holding 150 kg mass steadily on his shoulder does no work. The second one, a block moving on a smooth horizontal table. In this case, the work done by gravitational force on the mass is 0, because the angle between the gravitational force and the displacement of the block is 90 degree. So these are the two examples given in your NCERT. Next, look into the second property. Work done by a force can be negative. And when is it negative? The angle between the direction of the force and the displacement is 180 degree, or it can be between 90 degree and 270 degree. Where do we find this? In chapter 4 we have learnt that frictional force is always acting opposite to the motion of an object. While studying about the advantages of friction, we have seen there that kinetic friction helps in braking of automobiles. Frictional force is acting opposite to the motion of the automobiles, and that frictional force is bringing an automobile to rest or to stop. In that case, work done by frictional force is going to be negative. We will now see the units of measurement for the work done. First, look into the SI unit. SI unit of work is, you want to know what is the unit, first let us look into the definition. So, work is equal to F cos theta into D, or for the sake of mathematics, F D cos theta. Let us consider theta is 0 degree, that is force and displacement are both in the same direction, then work is going to be force into displacement. Therefore, SI unit of work is going to be unit of the force into unit of displacement. What is the SI unit for force? It is Newton, and unit for displacement is meter. It is Newton meter, or Newton can further be written as kg meter per second square into meter. So, this will finally give us kg meter square per second square. So, the SI unit for work done is going to be kg meter square per second square, and this is been given a name which is joule. SI unit for work done is 1 joule, represented by capital J, which is nothing but 1 kg meter square per second square. If we have to define what is 1 joule or the SI unit for work, how will we define? The work done by a force is said to be 1 joule if a force of 1 Newton acting on an object produces a displacement of 1 meter in the direction of force. If 1 Newton force is acting on some object, and if it has produced a displacement of 1 meter in its direction, then work done is said to be equal to 1 joule. So, this is definition for 1 joule. To understand the properties of the work done, that is when the work done is 0 and when the work done is negative, we have this numerical in your NCERT. So, let us look into the numerical. The cyclist comes to a skidding stop in 10 meter. During this process, the force on the cycle due to the road is 200 Newton and is directly opposed to the motion. How much work does the road do on the cycle? And the second sub question, how much work does the cycle do on the road? In the numerical, the force by the road on the cycle is been given, which is 200 Newton, and the displacement is given, which is 10 meter. Now, the work done by the road on the cycle is, take this as W. So, this is going to be equal to F dot D, which is F D into cos theta. The force is 200 Newton, displacement is 10 meter cos theta. It is been mentioned that the force of the road on the cycle is opposite to motion, which means this is going to be cos 180 degree. So, 200 into 10, cos 180 degree is minus 1, therefore, you will get this as minus 2000 Newton. Therefore, the work done by the frictional force of the road on the cycle is negative. Next, the second one is work done by the cycle on the road. Let us take this as W dash. Here this is going to be equal to F dash into dot product D dash. So, let F dash be the force by the cycle on the road and D dash be the displacement of the road. From Newton's third law, the force by the cycle on the road is going to be equal and opposite to the force by the road on the cycle. Therefore, this is here F dash is going to be equal and opposite to F. In terms of magnitude, this is equal to 200 Newton, whereas displacement of the road here is 0. Therefore, W dash is going to be 0. If there is no displacement of an object caused by a force, by an external force, then the work done by the external force is going to be 0. This numerical helps us to understand that when the work done by a force is negative and when the work done by a force is going to be 0. Now, we will look into what do I mean by kinetic energy. In the game of snooker or in the game of carom or in 10-pin bowling, similarly in many other cases, we see that one object in motion when hits another object can produce displacement, which means an object in motion has some energy which can do work on another object, and that energy possessed by an object in motion is what is called as kinetic energy. What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by an object due to its motion, and mathematically kinetic energy is given by, we represent kinetic energy by K, and this is equal to half mv square. Kinetic energy, if you have to measure it mathematically, is given by half mv square, where m is mass of the object and v is the speed or the velocity of the object. We can also write this as half m, v square can be written as v dot v. By knowing the mass and the speed of motion of an object, we can calculate its kinetic energy. Now, we will see what is the SI unit of kinetic energy. In what terms we will measure kinetic energy. To know what is the SI unit of kinetic energy, let us look into the maths of kinetic energy. So, kinetic energy is half v square. Therefore, SI unit of kinetic energy is going to be, number has no unit, it is going to be the unit of mass into unit of velocity square. Unit of mass is kg into unit of velocity is meter per second and whole square of it. This will give us kg meter square per second square. Remember, kg meter square per second square is again joule. So, kinetic energy is also measured in terms of joule. This will give us 1 joule. Therefore, SI unit of kinetic energy is 1 joule or kg meter square per second square. The kinetic energy or in general energy can be measured not just in joules, in also in some other units. What are those units? You have this table in your NCERT which give us the different units for energy and also for the work done. They are 1 erg. So, 1 erg is the unit in CGS system, where the length is measured in centimeters and mass is measured in grams. In that system of units, energy or work done is measured in terms of 1 erg, and 1 erg when you convert it into joules is going to be equal to 10 to the power of 7 joules. Similarly, other unit of energy is 1 electron volt. In terms of joules, if you convert that into joules, it is going to be equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 joule. And next, 1 calorie. So, 1 calorie is equivalent to 4.186 joules. And finally, 1 kilowatt hour. And this 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 3.6 into 10 to the power of 6 joules. We will know only the different units for energy and their equivalents with 1 joule. Finally, today we will learn the work energy theorem. Here is the statement for the work energy theorem. It states that the change in kinetic energy of a particle is equal to the work done on it by the net force. Let us prove the work energy theorem in case of a constant force. By the term constant force, it implies that the acceleration of the object is also constant. Force leads to acceleration of an object. If force is constant, then acceleration is also constant. From your third chapter, which is motion in a straight line, we have the kinematic equation in case of uniform acceleration or in case of constant acceleration. Let us begin. We have the kinematic equation v square minus u square is equal to 2as, where v is the final velocity, u is the initial velocity, and s is the displacement produced by the force. Now, let us multiply this equation by half m. multiplying equation 1 by half m, we get multiply half m for every term in the equation. So, this will give us half m v square minus half m u square is going to be equal to half m into 2 as. 2 and 2 here get cancelled. Half mv square is nothing but kinetic energy, and here half mv square and half mu square can be written as final kinetic energy minus the initial kinetic energy is equal to MAS, m into A into S. M into A is nothing but force. Force into displacement is the work done. So, what does work energy theorem say? It says that when a constant force is acting on an object, the work done by that force is going to be equal to the change in kinetic energy of the object. That is all for this session. Thank you.